So, Memento, I have a story to tell you just about how I watched Memento. Memento came out in 2000 when I was in high school. When I was actually middle school. And it came out when I was in high school. Everyone was like, Memento, best movie ever. And pretty much it was the consensus of my entire high school, Bronx, scientific high school in New York City. Number 2 in New York City. So, does it reach the hype? Before I even mention that, I don't know. I didn't really talk with people about the film in high school because I didn't get to watch the film in high school. So, and I pretty have no friends now, so I'm talking with you guys. That's very sad. Anyway, to make things even worse, I didn't watch it till 2011 when I first became a movie critic, and then I didn't watch it a second time till 2017 when that movie site website was already gone after working for that site for like 5 years, I believe. So that was interesting. And then I watched it pretty much immediately after for the third viewing because it was very interesting. So, Rob Agger thought that the film was a little bit gimmicky. I'll admit some stuff. I thought the fact that they kept putting the beginning of the previous scene in the beginning of the end of the current scene was a little bit too. It sort of mainstreamed it a little bit too much, in my opinion. Streamlined it too much. Like, people should have been able to figure it out, but I sort of figured out why in the second or third viewing, I'm trying to remember, and I don't remember. It worked, and I'll get into that later. Another thing was the approach and the structure of the screenplay. It's very interesting. I think when you first watch the film, at least for me, in 2011, you're just boggled by the premise of the film and the structure of how he wrote the script. Like, Memento, let's see, Following has like 3 storylines, 3 timelines. Memento, 2 timelines. Following, you're following people. In Memento, going backwards. Well, there's 2. That's interesting too. I don't want to talk about it now. I'll write down in my notes in my third viewing. So this is very important for my notes and for another review in the future. Like, that second time I watched the film, probably like Primer, like my brother said with Primer, I understood the film a lot better. I thought I understood the film the first time I watched it, but I didn't really understand it. Like, stuff with, like, John G's wife and Natalie, and I'm still confused as to who exactly, pretty much everybody is. And I think there's a reason for that, which I'll get into in my third viewing. Like, Teddy, is he a good guy or a bad guy? Like, you assume he's a good guy, because he got killed, but that doesn't make him a good guy. And a lot of stuff is told in Lenny's point of view, and stuff he said isn't necessarily true. Oh, I have to write down the third viewing too. I mean, a lot of high school and college kids, they like psychology, and I wondered if that was too unmainstream for fans, but some of it I can find very interesting. I don't remember if this is the second viewing or third viewing, but alright, let's talk about this time. So he has this whole thing about remembering his wife, and he always feels that the bed is cold and she's not there, even though he doesn't even. I don't even. He never mentions his old house, which he does have as a memory, because he only forgets stuff from after the accident, not before. I don't know if he's been there. That's interesting. There's a lot of new stuff. I'll write down more notes. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that connects it with Inception, which is very interesting. So in the second viewing, basically, what I did not understand the first viewing is that he makes... What, you might have been smarter to figure this out before I did, but... I should get that glare in the way. I guess my face clear. Make it brighter. That Lenny makes Teddy the bad guy in his mind. I'm not going to say how, because that was my third viewing. And he makes it so that he writes notes with the intent that Lenny, who doesn't remember, will kill him in the end. Which he does in the beginning of the film. Teddy is a good guy, or at least so he thinks, although we're not sure, because it's all told from Lenny's perspective, and what he says could be lies to himself, could be lies from other people. There's also a lot of lying in general. As you see as the film goes on, Natalie has lied to Lenny, and that's for sure. Because, like, she says that Dom hit her, when it was actually Lenny who hit her, which is actually because Natalie was trying to mess with his brain. She was frustrated. She was angry at him for doing terrible things for pretending, because he has this condition. She finds him very annoying, and she's not a nice person. She treats him like a disabled person. She says that she'll use him, pretend she can be anybody with him, a lover and everything, and she does do that later on in the timeline, but early on in the film. So much of the script is very, very thorough, like the whole Natalie storyline. I know this is in the third viewing, but I'll talk about it a little bit here. It sets up later on, or early on, confusing, isn't it, in the film, and I find that very interesting. And some of the stuff you don't notice because it's reverse and backwards, but like it's very interesting. So he has the whole Sammy Jenkins storyline, and it's weird. I think the subtitles in the Netflix version don't match with the tattoo that he has in the actual version. I'm gonna turn this fan off because it's like starting to get a cold. I'm at least set the low. I don't remember if this is actually in my second viewing or my third viewing, but as I said before, he imagines his wife in a bed with him, but he feels the bed is cold, and that's what he remembers in the end of the day. In this shot, he basically imagines his wife in the shot as if she was there. Was a lot of stuff we think in the film he might not have actually remembered, and might not actually be true, and might have been lied to him. Maybe the wife thing was. Maybe so many possibilities. And don't think there's an answer, which I'm going to do in my third viewing, which I'm not done with yet because I'm still in my third viewing. He's sort of like this Frankenstein monster, a man under experiments, as shown in the film with Sammy Jenkins, who is trying to figure out what exactly he's up to and stuff. I don't know if anyone's been in the chat. Like, the whole film is a fear about science, and the fact that we can be so vulnerable that someone could damage our brains and then we won't be who we are. He's sort of like this lobotomized, or flew over the cuckoo's nest type of character, like Randall McMurphy. And sort of like lobotomized. He's sort of like a vegetable. Like, he's sort of not. Teddy calls him a freak, and he's not normal. And he goes on living, doing a lot of stuff he doesn't understand. How good is a normal person's memory? How much does one remember? How much does how vulnerable can we be? Could we be Lenny? So interesting. I mean, it's interesting. Everybody in this film isn't trying to be who they really are. We don't know. Lenny is trying to be pretend he's a detective, but he doesn't remember who he is. Even though he's he's a detective and a frauding investigator for an insurance company. Very good. Teddy is a snitch and an informant for the police. He's trying to be other people. We don't know what side he's on. Natalie is obviously a liar, as you've seen in the timeline. You know that she's purposely manipulating Lenny. I'm trying to remember who else. The hotel people are trying to take advantage of Lenny and his condition so they can rent more than one room against him. Make some money. Also, find it interesting how in the end, I didn't know who sang the song, but in the subtitles for the Netflix version, it's revealed that it's actually David Bowie who sings the song in the end, which I find very interesting. Now on to the rest of my third viewing. I just found it so exciting rewatching the film, trying to figure out who these characters are, and I don't. My third viewing, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to know who. Especially if you've seen the rest of Nolan's films, just to hint a little bit at it. So I don't know why I'm trying to figure out who these characters are, other than possibly Natalie, but they're very interesting. Because, like, that's what films are. You rewatch them, you find more interested, you find more clues, and get more absorbed to it. This film was made in the 2000s. I'm watching it in the 2011s, and 2017s, and 2010s, and find it more interesting at a time when everything's like comic book heroes and sequelitis, and it's gotten to the point where blockbusters have out blockbustered themselves, and visual effects don't impress anymore. And films like The Mummy, Power Rangers, and Valerian, and all these films with brands haven't made money, and even the Sony superhero film will possibly not do well economically as well, financially as well, and maybe we should go back to these roots with good old storytelling, indie storytelling, to make a lot of money off of. Control the budget, create some control and quality, and hopefully there'll be a Memento-ish like film. I watched Dunkirk 2-3 times, and I already got tired of it. Like, watching Memento, it's like a third time. I want to watch it more, not less. Not like Dunkirk. I don't know what people like Peter Travers are saying about it being the best war film of all time, one of the greatest films of all time. I felt like Memento is definitely, I don't know if it's one of the best films of all time, but I would say it's a great film. Dunkirk's a really great film, too, but Memento's like a really great film. Like, I know it's like arbitrary word, but it just has a certain feeling to it that I don't get with Dunkirk. And I don't think it's nostalgic, because I'm absorbing the feeling of watching Memento for the first time, like in a high school atmosphere, opposed to like Dunkirk when I'm watching it as an adult. And it's not because I understand both films pretty well. Maybe there's something I'm missing with Dunkirk, but Memento, I feel like, was interesting times for Chris Nolan. He had to prove something, and I think he proved it. With Dunkirk, I felt like he didn't have to prove anything, and maybe that's why it's not as high on the list as Memento. I consider it pretty much the second to worst film compared to, I don't know about Following, but it's definitely, I mean, they're all pretty good films, and I won't say any of them are bad. The Dark Knight Rises or Insomnia for the only two films is better than probably, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on Memento? Hyped or overhyped? Comment below.